not good. And the literal translation is cutting off. I think Art Scroll word is excision, because they like to use good words. So Shloshim V'Sheish, there are 36 Kerisus b'Torah. What do you mean they're in the Torah? Of course they're in the Torah. Where else will we learn them from? The Arizal says this is a remez, and the Kovacs brings it in his Likutei Halachos. It's a remez that being ozeg b'Torah can prevent Kerisus, and could even be mechaper. Someone who needs Kerisus, he should learn about the Aveira he did, and he should learn Maseches Kerisus. And it's even a big segula to learn Maseches Kerisus during Yemei Tshuva, and we're actually going to still be in Kerisus in Elul, so we're going to be Mekayim this Chafetz Chaim, but being Osek in Torah will be Mechaper, will atone for Kerisus, and even prevent Kerisus, because we're going to find out what not to do, Rabbi. So this is, don't try this at home stuff. So what are the 36 Kerisus? Haba Ola'em, a man lives with his mother, Val Ashes of, or his father's wife, even if it's not his mother, Val Akala, or his daughter-in-law, Habala Zachar, or with a man, Vala Behema, or an animal, Isha Mavia Behema Alea, or a woman with an animal. Haba al Isha Uvita, he lives with a woman and his daughter, the Ashes Ish, or he lives with an Ashes Ish. These are Okaris. Haba Lachoso, what about his sister? Also Okaris, Val Achos Aviv, and his uncle's wife, his father's sister. We'll get there later. Val Achos Imo, or his mother's sister. So those are his aunts. Val Achos Ishto, or his sister, or his Achos Ishto is his sister-in-law. Thank you. I'm looking for the word. Val Ashes Achiv, the wife of his brother. Val Ashes Achi Aviv, the wife of his uncle. There it is. Val Hanida, or he lives with a nida. That could be even his own wife when she's a nida, is in a karis. So those are the arayos section. The Hamegadif is someone who blasphemes. God forbid he tries to curse, Ribbano Shel Olam. Or another pshat we're going to see later is he's singing the praises to Avodah Zarah. He's denying Hashem by extolling Avodah Zarah and accepting that. The Oved Avodas Kohavim, he does a maisa that serves idols. V'hanoisen mizaro lemolech, or he gives from his seed to the molech. Molech is interesting. It's also in Avodah Zarah, but it's singled out often. In the Torah, it's singled out because it was such a horrible thing. It's actually a machlokas rishonim if the molech actually burned up the children that were given to molech or not. So Rashi and Rambam understand molech as the parents would give the child over to these avodah zarah priests, and they would lead the child through the fire, but not kill him. He would, walk through the fire as some sort of right. The Ramban says these children were really burned. And why does it say mizaro? Because it was from some of his children, but not all of his children. If, God forbid, someone gave all of his children to be burned in the molech, that person is probably completely insane, so he's totally nuts. Or his sin is so horrible, it's so terrible, that he doesn't. There's no punishment good enough for that. Because it seems to be that, according to the Ramban, the priests of Avodah Zarah used to say, listen, we'll sacrifice this one child, and the molech will give hatzlacha to all of your other children. So it's a teachable moment where they were willing to sacrifice some of their children. They pick the runt of the litter or something, God forbid. So it's the opposite of what a Jewish mother does. Is you see a Jewish mother cares about all of her children, the ones who need extra help with the homework. Even they get the help. It's the opposite of the Jewish approach to child raising. Baal Ov is this necromancy. They speak to the dead. The most famous Baal Ov in Tanakh was, we had a king, Shaul HaMelech, went to ask from a Balas Ov at Ein Dor, and then they were all shocked when, instead of this necromancy, magic trickery happening, Shmuel HaNavi actually came. His neshama actually came and spoke, because that wasn't actually Baal Ov, but he was asking the Ov. Mechal Shabbos, being Mechabel Shabbos is Kares. Again, if it was done by mistake or unknowing, he didn't know it was Shabbos, he didn't know it was Aser, that's a Chatas. He brings a carbon Chatas. We have a Gemara in Shabbos that used to keep a notebook of how many times they accidentally broke Shabbos, so they could bring a Chatas when the temple will be rebuilt, Bimheira B'Yameinu. And if it was Eidim, of course, being Mechal Shabbos with warning and witnesses, is with Skila. Vitame, someone who was impure, Sha'achal Kodesh, and he ate sanctified holy food. V'habal mikdash tame, he comes into the temple when he is tame, also a kares. V'ochel chaylev, somebody eats chaylev is a forbidden fat. Now the shuman is a mutter fat, and there are many kinds of chaylev. There are fats that are in the organs in certain places that the Torah says is aser. Vidam, and we also can't eat dam. So back in Europe, they had this blood libel because those goyim never learned Kerisus, because Jews don't eat blood. So it's like one of the most, insane things you could say about Jews. So Jews don't eat blood, period. Nosar is leftover karbanos, can't eat that. Pigul, remember, is when they did the avoda, they did a shchita, one of the avodos, and they had kavana. The intention was to eat the meat or burn the parts after the time limit. So that becomes pigul. Even though you're still within time limit, you can't eat that meat. That's karis. V'shochet mal bechutz, bringing up karbanos outside of the Mishkan, outside of the temple. That is a karis. V'ochel chametz b'pesach. Famously, eating chametz b'pesach. Please don't eat chametz b'pesach. One of the reasons we are so machmir about chametz and we're so, kimat paranoid about chametz, it's karis. It's a big deal. We don't want to eat any chametz on Pesach. V'ha'ochel v'osei malacha b'yom kippurim. Someone who eats or does malacha on Yom Kippur is a karis. It'd be a question about the other inuyim, wearing leather shoes. That's not listed as a karis, but would that still be a iser deraisa, or maybe it's a derabanan? V'hamefatem es hashemen. Somebody who uses the recipe to make the shemen mishcha, the anointing oil. We know that Moshe Rabbeinu in the Midbar made the anointing oil to anoint the Mishkan, the Kelim, and the Kohanim for service. And miraculously, it lasted for centuries. But if we try, and the Torah gives the recipe, but if we remake it, then that's aser. Hamefatim as a ketoris. Somebody makes the ketoris. We see elsewhere if he's making the ketoris for his own use. If somebody's making the ketoris for the Beis Hamikdash, b'mheir b'meinu, that's good. But if he's making his own use, it's a kares, hasachas hashemen, hamishcha, somebody who anoints himself with the shemen hamishcha. He's not anointing a Kohen Gadol, he's anointing himself. That's aser, as a kares. V'hapesach v'amila. Now these are mitzvahs aseh. To bring the carbon pesach and to get a bris milah, these are mitzvahs aseh, that are chayiv kares. If somebody, God forbid, never gets a bris milah, and he should have gotten a bris milah, there's a question if his brothers, God forbid, died from their bris milah because they had hemophilia and they weren't able to cure it or stop it. Maybe he's not allowed to get a bris milah because of pikuach nefesh, because he might also, God forbid, pass away from that. But if somebody went through his lifetime without getting a bris milah and died like this, that's a kares. Somebody didn't bring his carbon pesach when he could have and should have, was in the neighborhood. It's a chiv kares. Now Rabbi say, can we bring a carbon pesach bisman hazeh without a mikdash? So you should know it's a humongous discussion in halacha. It's the topic of an entire shir itself, so we're not going to get into it. You know, 2 years ago, the police in Israel arrested a group of people who were planning to bring a carbon pesach on Pesach 2 years ago. 9 years ago, they actually arrested somebody trying to sneak onto Har HaBayis with a young goat. Because those people held, I'm not condoning or endorsing what they did, but they held that you could bring a carbon Pesach without a Beis HaMikdash, and possibly even without a Mizbeach. Bring it as a Bama. It depends on, we've seen this machlokes, Kedusha Rishona, if the sanctity of the temple was Kidsha L'Shaita, was temporary, or Kidsha L'Atid Lava, or was permanent for all time. Because if it was permanent for all time, it's Kodesh, you can't go there if you're Tameh, but maybe that's Kedusha to bring a carbon. And if it was temporary, maybe we could bring it as a Bama. This is what they're saying. It was a huge discussion between the Rabbi Akiva Eger, the Chasam Sofer, and this, that generation. They wanted to petition the Ottomans to bring the carbon Pesach. People said, no way, it's not going to work. But there's still this idea, because the carbon Pesach, it's doche tuma. Even when you're tameh, if most of the people, most of Klal Yisrael are tameh, it could be brought in tuma. And also, it doesn't come from machasit shekel. Most of the karbanos come from the half a shekel that we donate. But the carbon Pesach, you bring it with your own money. You go and buy your own goats and go up to the Har HaBayis, and these people think that it's possible to do. So it's an ongoing discussion and debate in halacha. But of course, if it's a pikuach nefesh issue, because the Yishmaelim are there, and they would probably murder someone who tried to do it. So that's a pikuach nefesh would be doche, even if the other issues could be solved. So God willing, we will be able to solve all of the issues, and I'll have a carbon Pesach, and then if it's possible, halachically possible and practically possible, and there's no pikuach nefesh, we should be bringing a carbon Pesach, because that's a kares. That's a severe infraction to not bring a carbon Pesach. Good. Val elu, on these chayven ozedono kares. If he did it on purpose, it's kares. Or shigagaso chatas. and if he did it by mistake, it's a chatas. If he didn't know he had done it, yesterday we brought the case, he ate something, he wasn't sure if it was chaylev or shuman, he wasn't sure it was aser or mutter, he didn't know yet. So asham talui, he brings an asham talui to protect himself, to suspend the punishment until he finds out. Mina mitame mikdash v'kadashav, and some who are mitame mikdash v'kadashav ibnei shu ba'olav yored. So those are not a chata. So it's saying certain things are not a chata. If it was a suffix, it's an asham talui. If it's a mitame mikdash v'kadashav, that's an olav yored. Divrei Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir says, even a megadef, they say, doesn't even bring a carbon. Shenemar Torah achas. There's one rule, yihiyeh lachem, for you, la'osei bishgaga, for someone who does an action b'shogeg, and this does an action, la'osei yatsa megadef she'ena osei maisa. Megadef has not changed physical reality. He's said words, and they might have been horrible words against the Rabbanu Shalom or endorsing Avodah Zarah, but he just said words. He wasn't osem ma'isa. Great. Amud Beis. You'll notice Amud Beis is large, which is why we flew through Amud Aleph a little bit. So the Gemara says, Minyana lama li. Why do I need to count? Baruch Hashem, we're Yidden. Yidden are the best accountants in the world, and we'd be able to count up 36. Why did it have to tell us there's Shloshim V'Sheish is 36? Rabbi Yochanan, the 36 teaches us, Shim Asan Kulan Bechelem Achas. He did all of these Averas. Behelem Achas means in one hiddenness, one sort of lapse of knowing. It was one unwitting time. He didn't realize in the middle what he was doing wrong. Chayev o kol achas v'achas. He's chayev on each and every one individually. So he had one period of time where he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't realize he was doing all these averas, and he did all of them. He'd be chayev on all of it. Now, really, he'd be chayev 34, not 36, because Pesach and Mila, he can't. Those are things you have to do, not things you don't have to do. Vesu, and also Hadisnan, we have a Mishnah similarly. Avos Melachos, this should be more famous. The Av Melachos, the fathers of Melachos, the larger categories are Mem Chaser Achas, are 40 minus 1. Minyana Lamali, why do we have to count? Because we could have counted them in the Mishnah. The Mishnah there in Shabbos lists all of the Avos Melachos, and it lists 39 of them, so why did I have to say 39? Rabbi Yochanan says, Je'im Asan Kulan B'Chelim Achas, if he did all of the Av Melachos of Shabbos in one go, chayev okol achas v'achas. He's not chayev 1, he's chayev 39. So how is it possible? He didn't know it was Shabbos. There was, God forbid, his boat sank and he was stranded on a desert island, and it was a big storm. He doesn't know what day it is, and he did every single malacha on one Shabbos because he thought it was Tuesday. So that's 39 chataus when he gets back to Yerushalayim. So now we're going to ask some Mishnahs where we teach a number, and we're not really sure why we have to teach the number. Also, there's another case of numbers. There's a Mishnah, Arba Mechusrei Kapara. 4 people need an atonement. Now, what it means is we're waiting for their carbon for them to be totally done with their status. It could be a Mitzura, a Zava. We're waiting for them to bring their carbon so they can eat kodshim, so they can go back into the temple and eat kodshim. Really, they're okay right now, but they're mechusar kapara in the sense that they need to bring a carbon to fix their status entirely. Lomali, why did we say 4? Lefukim Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, to exclude Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, who would de Amar Hey, who says there's 5 of them. Hey Have. Titania, there's a brayso Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, Ger mechusar kapara. A convert to Judaism is mechusar kapara. He's lacking something. Ad sheyizarek dam alav, until they sprinkle the dam of his carbon. So he learns out from the Gerus in the Midbar, when our ancestors became, as it were, Gerim, they had in the Midbar a mass Mila. Everyone had a bris Mila. Apparently they went in the mikvah, because the Ger goes in the mikvah, and the Ger also has Kabbalah's mitzvahs. We had Kabbalah's mitzvahs. We accepted to do all of the commandments, and we also brought a carbon then. We brought a big public carbon then. So he says a ger should bring a carbon. Until then he's mechusar kapara. He can't go into the temple and eat karbanos until they bring his carbon. So it's sort of when we have a temple and we're able to bring karbanos, then the ger will bring a carbon. He might bring a carbon pesach with all of us, Rabbi say. So then he'll be good to go at that point. He'll be able to go to the temple and eat the karbanos. Good. Hachitana dalid. So therefore it teaches 4 to exclude. The Rabbanan don't hold it. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, they don't hold that he's mechusar kapara at all. 2, also, Hadisnon, there's another Mishnah, Arba Mevin al Hazadon Kishkaga. There are 4 kinds of people who will bring a carbon chatas, on a zadon, on something on purpose, Kishkaga, just like it was a mistake. Minyana Lamali, why did we say 4? Lafuki mid Rabbi Shimon. That excludes the view of Rabbi Shimon. The Tanya, there's a brayso Rabbi Shimon Omer, Shvuas hapikadon, lo nitan zedono lekapara. If somebody did a Shvuas pikadon on purpose, he doesn't get a kapara by bringing a carbon chatas. Shvuas pikadon means Reuven deposited an object by Shimon, and then Reuven goes to Shimon and says, hey, give it back. And Shimon says, I never had it, you never gave me. He says, I'm taking you to court. So then Shimon makes this shvuas hapikadon. Pikadon is a deposit. He makes a shvuah in front of the court, and then later he admits it. He says, you know what? Shimon was lying to Reuven. Shimon was trying to steal it from Reuven. So normally for shvuas pikadon we would bring a chatas, and here Rabbi Shimon says it's not good enough to bring a chatas. Ahachitan the dolad. Therefore, this Mishnah teaches 4. So exclude Rabbi Shimon. The rabbis don't hold like that. 2, also, Haditnon, there's another Mishnah, hey, 5 people, Mevian Karban Echad Oliveris Harbe. They can bring 1 carbon on many Averis. So, Minyan Alamali. Why do we need this count of 5? Because you could count them in the Mishnah over there. Bishum Tekabai Limit Neseifa, because the Seifa there, Nazir Im Nitma Tumot Harbe. There was a case of a Nazir who got Tame many times, Rabbi Isai, but he only brings 1 carbon. Now, Nazir, when he's done with his Naziris, he brings karbanos. Famously, he has an Olish, Shlamim, Chatas, he has this whole karbanos. We talked about we burn his hair under the Duda Shlamim, where they're cooking up the Shlamim. But if Nazir gets Tameh, he has to bring a carbon, and he has to start over. They cut his hair. First, he has to get purified from his Tumah. So that takes 7 days, because they need to sprinkle the paraduma water on him. Day 3, day 7, he needs to go to the mikveh. He needs to get his hair cut, day 7. And then he has to restart his Naziris and bring his carbon on day 8 to restart his Naziris. We're going to see exactly when that restarts. So it could be this Nazir brings 1 carbon on getting Tameh many times. We're going to see how. Mashkachas law, we can find this. Kagon to Itma B'Shvi. He got Tameh, and then it's the 7th day from his Tuma, and he's been going through the Tahara process, and he gets Tameh again. V'chazar Nit B'Shvi. And then the next week also, they're trying to purify him. They sprinkle the paraduma water on him. He gets Tameh again the 7th day. Mani Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Yehuda. And the subpoena of Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Yehuda de Amar Nazirus de Tahara, the restart of Nazirus in Tahara when he's pure again. Min Shvi hu dechaylalei. This starts from day 7 again. So day 7, he goes to the mikveh and he gets his haircut and he gets the paraduma water on him, and now he's good to recount, even though he doesn't bring his carbon until the next day. Ditoma Rabbi, if you can tell me it's Rabbi, Kavan to Nazir Tahara ad Shmini lo chaylalei. Rabbi holds you need to wait till the 8th day until he brings his carbon. Eichi mishkachas. You couldn't find that he has many averos of getting tuma as a Nazir with 1 carbon. Ida nitba b'shvi, because if he got tameh on shvi in Rabbi's view, v'chazar nitba b'shvi, kulo chada tuma richtahi. It's just 1 long tuma. He never really got done with the first tuma to get tameh again a separate and second time, according to Rabbi. V'ida nitba b'shmini, if he got tameh on the 8th day when he's able to bring his carbon and restart, v'chazar nitba b'shmini, and he gets tameh on the next 8th day. Kavan the yatsa b'shah ru'ya lahavi b'carbon. It was the time he could have brought his carbon, even if he hadn't brought his carbon yet, but he could have brought his carbon on the 8th day. Chayav kol achas v'achas. According to Rabbi, if he got tameh 3 times, this Nazir has got to stay away from funerals and stay away from people carrying dead bodies, because 3 in a row it's a problem. But he could bring his carbon on the 8th day, even though he hasn't brought it yet. So once he's finally done getting tameh, he brings 3 karbanos for getting tameh 3 separate times. Elishma bina Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Yehuda. That's Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Yehuda, and the count is excluding him. My Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Yehuda. Are they going to bring it? The Tanya, the Brisa brings the Kiddush Es Rosha, brings the source for their machlokes. Kiddush Es Rosha, he sanctifies his head. That means his hair. Rabosa, he's a Nazir. B'yom hahu, on that day, b'yom havas karbonosav, the day of bringing his carbon, divrei Rabbi. Rabbi says that's when he brings his carbon, that's when he can sanctify his head, meaning restart his Naziris. Because he was tameh and now he's tahor again, now he can restart. He has to start counting over again. Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Yehuda, Omer, b'yom tiglachto. That's the day of his haircut. The day of his haircut is on the 7th day, and that's when he can restart his Naziris b'tahara. Good. Another one. 2, also, Haditnon, the Mishnah says, 5 people, hey, Mevian carbon olive yurid, bring an olive yurid. Olive yurid is a variable offering. It depends on the tax bracket of the person who's chayiv in the carbon, whether it's a mincha, whether it's birds, whether it's animals. Minyan alamali, why do we say 5? Mishum de Katane Seifa, because it teaches in the end of that, Nasi Kiyotze Behen, that a Nasi usually means president, it means the king here typically, Kiyotze Behen is also like them. Why would a Nasi not bring an Olav Yored? I guess. Beautiful. He's the richest person there. The Nasi is, thank you, he's the richest guy there. He can't be poor. There's actually a mitzvah, Saim Tasim Alecha Melech. If the king somehow got poor, we would have to give him to make him rich again, because the king has to be over us. Now, Rabbi say we've spoken about the difference between a Jewish king and politicians, we'll call them. The outside of the David HaMelech type. A Jewish king is an anav. He represents the entire people. If he's collecting taxes and has a treasury and has a palace, it's not because he needs the kavod and he needs the fancy things and the nice things. It's because he's the representative. He's the emissary of Klal Yisrael. He has to look good because he's representing Klal Yisrael. And he's an anav. He does an aveira. He goes to the temple. He confesses on his carbon, and he brings a carbon. You see, when the politicians do an aveira, they deny it until video surface or picture surface, and then they still deny it. And they say, it wasn't me. It was Lahavdil. They never did anything wrong, it seems. And David HaMelech, you see, the kings of Israel, the kings who were tzaddikim, they would confess when they did an aveira, Yeah, and it comes out of Yehuda and Tamar. Tzadka mimeni. Being able to admit you've done something wrong sets a great example, because now you can change. The person who never admits they've done wrong, they're never going to get better. They're never going to change. So that's the king. The king, the Nasi, shouldn't have to bring an Olav Yored because he's always rich, and yet he's included in this count. Nasi ki yotze behen. Tanya hey lefuki mid Rabbi Eliezer. Damar Nasi mevi seir. So Rabbi Eliezer says, since the Nasi is always rich, as we said, he shouldn't bring an Olav Yored. If he did something wrong where he should bring an Olav Yored for other people, he actually brings a seir, because the Nasi always brings a seir because he's always considered rich. 2, also Hadisnan. There's another Mishnah, Arba Avot Nezikin. Oh, Baruch Hashem. Back to elementary school. This is Bava Kama. There are 4 main categories of nezek, of damagers. Remember the shor and the bor and the mave, the heve. If the ox falls into the pit or the pit falls onto the ox, and we had all the beautiful cases in the first paragraph of Bava Kama. Minyana lamali, but we can count. Rabbi said we can count 4. Why does the Mishnah in Bava Kama have to tell us there's 4 of them? Le'afukim Rabbi Oshia, because Rabbi Oshia over there Bava Kama Daf Beis, he says the Amar Yud Gimel Avos Nezikin Hen. It says it's 13. Now really he's not adding so many things. They're changing the categorizations a little bit. So it's lamdas. So he says there's 13. Rabbi Oshia Minalim Lamali. Rabbi Oshia, why did you say 13? We could count. Le'afuke mid Rabbi Chia. That excludes Rabbi Chia. Damar Chavdalad. Rabbi Chia says 24. It's 24 Avos Nezikin for Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia Minalim Lamali. Why does Rabbi Chia have to count for you 24? Le'afuke Masar. This excludes a Masar, umufagel, and someone who's mufagel. Now, a Masar Rabosai is someone who, we usually say Moser, somebody who betrays a Jew to the government, somebody who is, Rashi says, and we say elsewhere, he's giving over, he's ratting out a Jew for something, and now the government is going to either take the Jew away and lock him up, which could be a very serious problem. The person will be mevatel for mitzvahs. It could be pekuach nefesh, or the non-Jews are going to come and confiscate his property. So Mesira is one of these really horrible things that we are very concerned, and it's very bad. And over Shas, it's extremely bad. And they say if you see a mamish a moser and he fell down a pit and he says, "Hey, hand me a ladder," we don't give him a ladder. We leave him in the pit. So does this apply to somebody who's avoiding listing everything on his IRS tax return? That's a shaila for your accountant. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but typically we try to avoid telling on a Jew. There are certain circumstances. I'm not pasking. Again, this is not a pasak. If there is a danger to Jewish people or Jewish children, and the Jewish authorities are unable to stop the perpetrator, there may be a case where it is not just mutter, but a mitzvah to get the secular authorities involved to stop a situation of, God forbid, horrible abuse or something like this. If Rabbi Heinemann and Rabbi Heinemann's goon squad can't stop him, we got to call out the secular authorities. But that's a shaila for a qualified posek. That's not a daf yomi shir shaila. It's very serious ramifications because we don't want to be a moser. That is a very serious thing, but we do have serious situations where we need to get authorities involved if that's what's needed. But it's a very serious thing. Mefagel, Rashi here says, look, we just talked about pigel. Somebody does an avoda and they have intention that the parts should be consumed beyond the time. Rashi here says it's the Kohen who does it. We know shechita kasher bazar, that a zar can shecht, so maybe a zar could make pigels. So it seems it's a machlokas rishonim, that maybe Rashi holds davka a Kohen who has a lot of kavana, he's used to doing avoda. Maybe he can make pigel, but maybe a zar, a non-Kohen who shechts, maybe doesn't. So those, Rashi says, he wouldn't pay from the meta, from what we call idis in Bava Kama. In Bava Kama, they say a damager pays from the best of his property. The value is always the same, but a damager pays from the best, and because we want to discourage people from damaging other people. Amar Mar, Shema Son Kulam Bechelem Achas, who said before, if he did all of these averas in one helem, one unknowing, unwitting bout, he didn't realize in the middle, Chayev okol achas v'achas. Chayev on each and every one of them. Bishlama pater legamri. We might have said he'd be pater legamri lo matzi samar. So we couldn't say this. So what's the havamina? Is sometimes by Shabbos we know if somebody did an av malacha and a tolda, he's chayev one chatas. If he did them in one helem, one unknowingness. And just a little background: if he did ksiva, someone wrote on Shabbos, and then he realized, I wrote and it was Shabbos, and I have to bring a chatas. And then he goes and he writes that down on his notebook. So now he's chayev. He forgot again. He writes it down. Now he's chayev twice. Once he realizes, because it was two halamos. It was two. So it's funny. The word olam, world, is the same shorish as helam, is hidden, because the world hides reality from us. This physical existence that we're in hides the true reality that spiritual existence is the real permanent existence, and all of this is very temporary. So good. We went deep there for a second, but. So he's saying he did all of these averas at once. He's chayev al kol achas v'achas. He has a separate chatas or separate kares problem for each and every one of them. We can't say he's pater legamrei. Dichsiv ki kol asher yaseh mikol hatoivo sa'ele v'nichratu v'nefashis isis. Because the pasuk says anyone who does from any of these averas, he gets the kares. He has a problem, so we can't say he's pater. Ela ema avar hada. Let's say if he did one avera and he's chayev chada, he's chayev one kares or chatas. Avar kulu, if he did all of them, I did everything on the list, behelem achas, with one unknowing span of time, eno chayev el achas. Maybe he's only chayev once, because all these krisus are together, and they're all the same krisus problem, same punishment. Rabbi Yochanan, the koch yatsa kares bechoso. This is why kares is written specifically by his sister, lecholek, to divide, that just like Kerisus is on his sister, on one person, so if he does multiple averas, multiple people, he would get multiple kares. Maskif la Rav Bivi Barabai, so Rav Bivi Barabai has a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan here. Ema achoso de prat, akra. So let's say his sister, the Torah specified kares by his sister, is nechayev chada Allah. So be a person who is with his sister is chayev one kares on her. The Kulan and all the other ones, Kevan de Behelam Achas, since it was all in one unknowing time span, Lo Nechayev El Achas, he'd be Chayev one on all of the other Chayve Krisis also. Well, Rav Bivi Barabaye, and for Rav Bivi Barabaye, Mi Leisle Hada Detanya, he doesn't hold like this Baraisa that teaches Kol Davar Shahaya Baklal. This should sound familiar, Bosai. Anything which is in a klal, in a group, V'yatzam in a klal, and it's singled out from the group by the Torah, L'lamed, to teach you something. Lo l'lamed al atzmo yatsa. The Torah didn't simply single this out to teach it for its own sake. Ela l'lamed al klal kulo yatsa. But this is to teach us about the entire group that this one item comes from. So this sounds familiar from the rules, the Tanavei Yishmael, the hermeneutical principles, these 13 rules of darshaning the Torah. This is one of them. The davar sheyatsa min klal. Lo lemed al atzmo yatsa, ela lemed al klal kulo yatsa. Ketzad. Now, helpfully, they give an example. Hanefesh asher tochel basar. The soul that eats the basar, and what it's talking about is the pasuk says nefesh asher tochel basar mizevach hashlamim, from the shlamim asher lashem v'tumaso alav. But he was tamei when he ate the shlamim. V'nichrata hanefesh ahi me'amecha. That soul gets cut off from her people. So talking about the shlamim, halo shlamim beklal. So shlamim is in a larger group. Kol hakachim, it's beklal kol hakachim. It's among the kachim that go on the mizbeach. Hayu, that's where it's from. Lama yatsa. So why did the Torah specify eating shlamim betuma? Why does it say eating karbanos betuma? It says eating shlamim betuma gets a kares. Lahakish elehen, to make a hekesh, to make a comparison to everything in the group. Ma shlamim shen kodshim mizbeach b'chayvin alehem. Just like shlamim is from kodshim mizbeach, it was up on the altar. It's from a carbon that goes on the altar, and he's chayev kares if he's tameh. Af kol shehen kodshim mizbeach chayvin alehem. So anything that's kodshim mizbeach is chayev if he ate it while tameh. Yatsu kodshim bedek habayis. This excludes bedek habayis. Sounds familiar? We were just talking about this in Tumura. Which if he ate bedek habayis, he's not chayev for eating it while tameh. And Rabbi says he's chayev me'ilah. If an animal belongs to bedek habayis and Ruvain went and ate it for lunch, so he has to pay back the value of the animal plus add the chomesh, add the fifth, 25% on top. Is how we do it. And he brings a carbon me'ilah because he's done the sin of me'ilah, but he hasn't done the sin of eating kodshim mizbeach while tameh. So he doesn't get a kares, but he has a me'ilah problem on his hands, which we're going to get to soon in Maseches Me'ilah. Amar le Rabbi bar mina. So Rabbi says, let's leave that example out. Love me Amar schasam. Didn't we say about that baraisa? Yatsu kodshei bedek habayis. It excludes kodshei bedek habayis. So we see that it has a claw. So he's comparing to the sister. Hacha nami. So here too by the sister. Ma'achoso. His sister is miyuchedet. She's special in a way. How? Shehi erva. She's one of the arayos. She's usher for the man to live with his sister. Vein la heter b'chaya osra. And there's never a heter during the lifetime of the man who makes her usher. As long as the brother is alive, there is never a possibility of ever being with his sister in any sort of heter fashion. Af kol, so she's part of this group. So to everything, she'ein la heter b'chaya osra. So all of the arayos that never have a heter should be compared to the sister. So it's not like the sister is just one of all of the arayos. No, she's one of the arayos that never has a heter. So yatsa eishes ish. This excludes an eishes ish. Sheyesh la heter b'chaye bayla. She has a heter during the lifetime of her husband. It's called gerushin. It's called divorce. And then she becomes mutter to another man. So she's not the same group as a sister. So maybe she shouldn't be compared to the sister to get kares, to get individual kares. Amar Rabbi Yonah v'tema Rav Huna b'rei de Rav Yeshua. So Rav Yonah says, or you can say Rav Huna the son of Rav Yeshua says, Amar Kra. Ki kol asher yaseh mikola to'evos ha'ele. Let's see if we have the pasuk. We do. Ki kol asher yaseh mikola to'evos ha'ele. Anyone who does from any of these despicable things. There's a lot of good translations for it. It's hard to translate to'eva. To'eva is like abomination, or it's abhorrent, or it's despicable. There's a lot of great words for to'eva, but it's hard to really nail it down. Ha'ele v'nichatu nefashos osos mikerev amam. So anyone who does from any of these things. So this pasuk at the end of the arayos, you've listed off all the arayos. We've specified the sister, the achoso, is with kares, and then we wrap it up by saying anyone who does from any of these beautiful abominations, to'evis, gets the kares. So we wrap it up by sort of, the Torah wraps up by having that summation pasuk. Hukshu kol arayos kulan lechoso. So all of the arayos are now in a group compared to the sister. So the sister we would have thought is different because there's never a cheter for the brother, which is not like eshes ish. But we say no, the sister is compared to all the arayos. Ma'achoso chayev alei bifnei atzma. Just like the sister, she's chayev on herself. She's chayev kares on that. Afkol chayavin alei bifnei asma. So to all of these arayos, all these chive krisus are chayev individually. They're chayev by themselves. So if behelam achas, so there was a sister, there's a mother, there's a daughter. So Rabbi, we all have days where we feel like we look back on the day, we say, I've accomplished so much. I got up on time, I got dressed, my shoes were shined, I went to the daf yomi, I davened like a mensch, I got to work on time, the boss was great, I did this and that, I checked everything off my list, I got the thing fixed at home, everyone was great, the kid put the kids to bed. So some days we feel like we've accomplished a lot. So this particular hypothetical person, he was at his family reunion, and Nebuch, he accomplished a lot that day. It was a busy day at the family reunion, and he managed to rack up 34 chayve krisus bechelem echad. They were probably drinking at the family reunion. You understand, Rabbi, some people, they have a family reunion, they need to drink. So this person had a very busy day at the family reunion. He racked up 34 krisus and bechelem echas in one unknowing time span, and he's chayev now on every single one of them because we have this hekesh. The Torah specifies kares by the sister, And we would have thought the sister is different because there's never a heter during the lifetime of the brother to be with the sister. But then the Torah sums it up. They're all hukshu zelazeh, that all the arayos have the same status, that just like the sister, he is chayev on each time, God forbid he lives with his sister, so to all the arayos, he's chayev each one individually, so he could possibly rack up 34 chayve Kerisus in one shot. Now, interestingly, we say they gave the Eishes Ish is the one that has a heter. There's also Eishes Ach, the brother's wife. When is the brother's wife mutter? I heard something Yibum, beautiful. I heard a Yibum, and it's an interesting thing because we learn in Maseches Yevamos it's only when that Yibum is only doche the iser of Eishes Ach. If there's also one of the other rayos, it was related in another way. Even shnios, the rayos we say over there, even rayos that are not listed in here. But if it had another iser going on, we don't allow the Yibum to take place, and they have to do a chalitza. Interestingly, the Yemenites still do Yibum. It was a big deal in Eretz Yisrael. The rabbis banned Yibum. The Ashkenazi rabbis wanted to ban Yibum, and the Timanim, the Yemenites, got very upset because it had been their minhag for Dorei Doros, even though the Gemara implies it's not necessarily a good idea, but they had still been doing it. So Rav Ovadia wrote a tshuva that we should let them do it. It's their minhag, and it's the din Torah. The Torah tells them to do it, so that's when it would be mutter. We'll do a little bit more because thank God we flew through this stuff. We have a little more time. Rabbi Yitzchak. So Rabbi Yitzchak to Amar Chayve Kerisus B'Klal Hayo. He says all the Chayve Kerisus are in one general category. Ulama Yatsa Karis B'Choso. So why does the Torah tell you again Karis B'Choso? So he's looking at it that the pasuk Kikol Asher Yasei Mikol Tovos Ha'ele V'Nichatu Navashos Osus Mikerav Amam. That summation pasuk at the end of the Arayos section. So listen, all of the Arayos are in a Karis. So why does it single out Karis by his sister? Ledona bekaris, to point out that these arayas and like the sister are davka with a karis, velo b'malchus, and not with lashes. We're going to see later on in this mesechta that there is a havamina, there's a possibility that getting malchus, which is a punishment, it's a corporal punishment that the bezdin inflicts. So getting malchus, certain averis, I said at the beginning of this year, certain averos in this list, if there were adim, kosher witnesses, and chasra, and a warning, they told him, listen, don't do that because you'd be chayav skila if you do this particular avera. And he says, yes, I know I'm going to do it anyway. Then the bezdin will execute him. And certain times the bezdin will issue malchus, they will whip him. So there's a havamina that malchus, just like execution would be mechaper, would take the place of a karis. If someone's, God forbid, chayav karis, and he's chayav misas bezdin, if the bezdin puts him to death for that avera, it's mechaper. He doesn't need the karis anymore because he's been punished. So too, if the bezdin gives him malchus, whips him, it should wipe out the karis. So he's saying that by sister, we davka say karis, because you might have thought that give him malchus would be enough to wipe out the karis. So there's actually, it's done some places. Some places more among the Sfardim is that Erev Yom Kippur, after Mincha, they give malchus. They give the Rav a belt, and the person who needs a malchus, he lifts up his shirt, and they whip him. Yeah, and they're not hard, Rabosai. We're just trying to be machaper zavonas. We're not trying to hurt the guy. So you can go by Rabbi Goldface after Mincha and Erev Yom Kippur, and you can get your malchus if you need to get malchus, because there's an opinion that holds that malchus could wipe out a karis, that the bezdin giving malchus would atone for the karis. Good. So lechalek minale. So how does he know? He says that this karis written by Choso is to tell you it's not with malchus by Choso. So lechalek minale. How does he know that each one would get an individual karis if he got all of them at once or multiple ones at the same time? Nafkale me ve'el isha benida tumasa lo tikrov. So he learns it out from the isha when she's a nida. Do not come close, because it says ve'isha ve'el isha benidat tumata lo tikrav legalot ervata, and then it says that's a karis. Lecholek al kol isha ve'isha. So isha means any woman. Typically, it's his wife that we're worried about, but it's kol isha ve'isha. So any particular woman. So one woman at the family reunion was his sister, one was the mother, one's the mother-in-law, the daughter, everyone's there. So each woman would get her own kares if the man lived with them, God forbid. Rabbana nami typically. So why don't the Rabbana also learn from this pasuk ve'el isha b'nidas tumasa lo tikrav, that you can't come close to the isha nida, means every isha of isha in the world. And achinami, yes, they do learn this out from this isha nida. Ele koris de achosa lamai asa. So why do we say koris by achosa if we can learn out from isha nida? Mibaile, we do need this lachalek al achoso for achos aviv achos imo, to divide between his own sister, his biological sister, and the sister of his father, and the sister of his mother. That these are three different sisters and three different averos and three different krisis. They're not just all one big heading of sister. Hane la malahu lachalek. Why would he have to divide these? Hari shemus michlak, and they're different women. They're different shemus means they're different women. Hari gufin michlak, and they're different bodies. So of course there's three different averas. If it's his own sister and his father's sister and his mother's sister, that's three different people, right? Right? Ela ema lachalek alachoso shehi achos aviv v'shi achos imo. There could be one person who is his sister and his father's sister and his mother's sister. So Rashi explains, it sounds like a soap opera or something really bizarre, that this man's father, God forbid, had a relationship with his own mother, and then had Mazel Tov, twin girls, and so now one of those girls is his father's sister, and one of them is his mother's, and one of those girls became his mother. So one of those girls is his mother, and it's also his father's sister, and it's also his mother's sister, because this grandson now goes and lives with the other sister, which is his mother's sister and his father's sister and his own sister at the same time. It's his sister from his father, and it's his mother's sister from the grandmother. It's bizarre, but it could happen that all of these shemos iser, his own sister, his mother's sister, his father's sister, could reside in one body. Yitzchak hamilsa min aleh. How does he know that? Nafkale min seifa dekra. The end of the pasuk deceive. Ervas achoso gila. He has revealed the erva of his sister. Rabbanan achoso de seifa dekra. My avdile mi baile. What do they do with this? Wow, we're flying. Le achoso shehi bas aviv ubas imo. Lomar she'ein onshin min adin. That we don't give an onesh from a kal v'chomer. Good. So we're gonna leave it off there, because we're gonna get into this on tomorrow's daf on Shabbos. Shkoyach Rabosai, strong start to Kerisus, and now we know what not to do. Please stay sober at your family reunion. Shkoyach.